It literally contains all the features of good Scandinavian furniture. I really like this little chair called Clam. And Clam is, here you can simply walk through these rooms and enjoy the selection of wall colors because they are very unusual, complex colors, and it's an entire townhouse that was specially decorated by the designer for the festival. Hi friends, we're back in Copenhagen. And why? Because the Design Festival 3 Days of Design is happening here again. And if you haven't seen the previous episodes, I recommend watching them because today, in today's review, I will try to visit the locations that were not included in the previous ones. That is, last year's. So make yourself comfortable. It will be very interesting. And, as always, beautiful and pleasant, although not as warm as last time. To make sure you know I'm in Copenhagen, I literally found myself in a kind of bicycle kingdom. Well, this is probably the most optimal way to get around the city, and this time, that's exactly what I chose. And our first location is near the Marble Church. I have talked about what it is before, but that was on the travel channel. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the travel channel as well. And you will travel with me to places that are also related to design and architecture. So the first location is a design center called Gaba. Gaba is essentially this street and house number 113 if that interests you. But I think you will be more interested in what is contained in this design center. And it's absolutely magnificent because it's 5 floors of design, mostly northern. There's something Danish, but mostly northern. Northern in a broad sense. That means it's not necessarily a company located in Scandinavia. This is a company that has such an aesthetic focus because there are also Americans here. By the way, the same company that made the curtains for the Forma Fantasma installation at the Stockholm Furniture Fair, which we also visited. Actually, that was in February and it was even colder than it is now. Next, we have German companies. We are familiar with Midgard because they actively collaborate with the Italian brand Agape, and when you visit their showroom, the lighting fixtures, decorative lights so to speak, are precisely Midgard. And this year they released a new lamp in collaboration with Sebastian Herkner, who is also a German designer, which is now available for pre-order. I must say it's a very charming thing, conceptual, narrative, I dare say. I liked it, and I also like the Danes who produce their furniture in Indonesia. Well, naturally, this is, again, that very Scandinavian, or even Danish design, because at one time even Arne Jacobsen worked with them. And there are little chairs and a small sofa. Although generally speaking, rattan is probably not the most typical material found in Denmark. Naturally, there are also Italian manufacturers, but again, they offer rather restrained, minimalist ideas. I really like the guys who make the tiles. But again, I don't know where they make them, but the tiles are definitely the most Scandinavian I've seen in a while. Very complex colors, very interesting colors, unusual. And of course, a very restrained decor, and again, a lot of delicate graphics. It looks great. Naturally, there is a lot of glass in Denmark. In general, glass is highly valued as a decorative element in Scandinavia. This includes vases and of course lamps. There's definitely a lot to pay attention to here as well. Of course in Scandinavia they work a lot with wood, with classic wood from the local European forests, and this wood is untreated, usually in its most natural form. And there are also many companies here, and some woodworking workshop in Copenhagen showcased a very immersive exhibition. There are also kitchens. The spaces are relatively small, so it's practically impossible to install any huge kitchens. They displayed kitchen models. As for the kitchen, by the way, I really like the combination of light wood with stainless steel. The light wood looks great, and again, it looks wonderful combined with stone. Overall, the kitchens are very Scandinavian and very cool. Naturally, there is ceramics, and the ceramics are absolutely varied. I mean decorative ceramics. Again, some vases, objects. There are also some pieces that resemble collectible items. Of course, it's very hard to imagine Scandinavian interiors without rugs. Moreover, in various interpretations and techniques. This includes tufting and weaving. This is, of course, a special color palette. And in general, when it comes to the color palette, you can just walk through these rooms and enjoy the selection of wall colors because they are very unusual, complex colors, very interesting transitions, combinations. There are also some bright shades, but mostly, of course, everything is more delicate. A lot of fabrics. Textile decor is also a kind of must-have for Scandinavian, for Nordic interiors. And here too, there are quite interesting things. At the beginning of the year, when we were at the Deco Off event in Paris, we talked about how metallization is definitely a trend in design, decorative fabrics, and it is indeed present here. There are even some very bright literal chrome curtains that can be a nice accent. Some experts say that in principle, this kind of metallization in interior design, furniture finishing, and upholstery is a certain trend. Well, I don't think it will last long, but still, as curtains, decor, a window or a wall, or maybe for dividing space, it might be because it's easier to change a curtain than the upholstery of a sofa, so I wouldn't recommend it for upholstery. But for decorating a space, it's actually quite good. By the way, another point I would like to highlight is that there are companies that literally mimic the Scandinavians. For example, a London bureau makes furniture that literally embodies all the features of good Scandinavian furniture. I really liked this chair called Clam, and a clam is a mollusk. Well, I mean, we recognize these chairs by their open clam-like shape. As with any design week, the most interesting things are found where you least expect them. You walk and bam. There are some apartments, and inside there's some installation with absolutely unreal staging. The company also develops its own items, but all of this is presented in the interiors of regular residential apartments. I don't know if it's a pop-up or a permanent exhibition, but it seems like it was done on purpose for the festival. And this, of course, is very cool and very interesting. Well, in general, it must be said that the motto of this festival is Dare to Dream, meaning dare to dream, allow yourself to dream. And well, I think the guys quite live up to this motto. Yes, we definitely weren't lucky with the weather this time. It started to rain, and we had to move under the canopy. Behind me is another very interesting location. It's called Connery, and it's an entire townhouse that was specially decorated for the festival by designer Sine Hjort. I hope I pronounced everything correctly. It is, of course, very difficult to film there, although again, the scenography is nice. And the lady did a great job with the lighting, and there are certain small items that can be seen, and there are certain larger items that are quite difficult to see. But here is a mix of such international manufacturers. There are Japanese and of course Scandinavians. Overall, everything is incredibly interesting and fun. But if you don't want to look at a bunch of undoubtedly stylish and pleasant people and still want to focus on the furniture, you'll have to take a little break. But don't change the channel. Passing by. Frello Pallet. I couldn't help but go in. I couldn't just walk by. And of course, a regular viewer would say, "What nonsense. You promised not to visit the locations you went to last time." Yes, friends, indeed, I was here last time, but this time I visited several places that I didn't get to see before. I don't know if they were not involved or if I somehow missed it, but anyway, there is also a concert hall here and there is an exhibition going on there as well. There is another wing here that I didn't check out last time, so there are some new things for me here and accordingly for you as well. There is also a pretty extensive mix of various manufacturers here. Here you can find Italians, Germans, and a lot of Swedish manufacturers. And there are a few Danes and some British people, by the way, who are very interesting. They have a little sofa there that I liked last time as well with buttresses. And this time it's presented in some kind of sky blue color, also with flowers, which is generally quite unusual. By the way, the designer of this sofa is Sebastian Herkner, and there is even a thematic exhibition of his creations at the entrance. Well, in general, it seems to me that Sebastian Herkner is being showered with golden rain, because this is already the second time he has stood out so brightly. Well, as for what the others have presented, I wouldn't say there's anything wildly impressive. There are a lot of repetitions, and some items are just reissued in the trendy colors of the season. So naturally, there's terracotta, green shades, blue shades. All of that is definitely present. I really like the collection, which has a terracotta pink structure that contrasts with the white textured upholstery. This, of course, also aligns with the trends. Well, in principle, the space, the building is very pleasant. The historical interiors provide a very good backdrop for modern furniture. And by the way, yes, here at this festival, of course, 90% of the furniture is modern in style. And this is also a feature of Scandinavian design because it is essentially modern in a broad sense. Because even those things that were created 50, 60 years ago and even longer ago are still very relevant today and truly represent modern aesthetics in a broad sense. And there was one more thing that amused me a bit. It was a Swedish manufacturer who participated in the Stockholm Furniture Fair and precisely recreated that very reading room designed in the form of a phantasm. And I think that's funny. Well, let's put it this way. Maybe they didn't copy it, maybe they were just inspired and decided that it was indeed a great idea, so why not use it in their own exhibition here at this festival? We continue on the other side of the strait. This is the part of Copenhagen where the famous peasants are located. But besides the farmers, along this strait, let's call it that, is the most expensive real estate. And here, well, apparently somehow related to this, are the showrooms, I would even say, the separate buildings of the most famous Danish companies. I wasn't here last time, so let's go look together. Of course, the company is lucky with the space here because these are some former warehouses, boat sheds, typically in this area. And there's nothing you need to do there because they already look very textured on their own. Here with this company, which is mainly known, by the way, for small items, I really like the exhibition from the perspective of how they show the process of making them. In other words, they show that this is not some kind of Chinese knockoff, but Danish design, and that it is indeed made by hand. And the whole process is shown in a very narrative way, including some historical aspects. Again, 3D printing is used, but as I mentioned, this is a new form of craftsmanship, so it can be included as well. For those who don't understand, there are even small stands with screens that show how everything works. And for larger items, it turns out what it is made of in the literal sense, that is, the raw material. Well, it's nice, cute, Danish in terms of the color scheme, because there wasn't a single bright color here. The legendary and possibly most famous Danish lighting brand is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year. And of course, for this event, they created a huge installation dedicated to possibly the most recognizable lamp called Artichoke, designed by Poulsen. And of course, the interior is also decorated with artichokes, but this time with real artichokes. In addition, there is also some interactivity here. A lady is sitting and manually assembling an artichoke lamp. This is to help you understand why it is so expensive, not only because the brand is Danish, but because it is truly handmade and very meticulous work. As for the updates, they naturally concern the colors. There are quite a lot of colors now, again for already well-known items. These are all trendy, fashionable colors that we have talked about a lot. The trend of using outdoor lighting is also developing, and this brand has a specific solution for it. And of course, it is renowned not only for its historical, now almost museum-worthy design samples, but also for its staff and contemporary authors. I wouldn't say it happened recently, because it was probably about 6 years ago, but there was a big sensation at the Milan exhibition when this company showcased its collaboration with Olafur Eliasson, who is known to us primarily as an artist and an optical art specialist rather than a designer. And here, of course, he also applied all his skills. The lamp is expressive, and critics have even called it the new artichoke. Well, to be honest, it hasn't gained that level of fame yet. The lamp is awesome, really cool, and the overall atmosphere is very charming. Another well-known and highly respected reputable company located around this beautiful and picturesque garden deals with various types of furniture, and it is very interesting to observe how, in general, global trends are transformed into a local vision of these trends. Because here you can find both rounded, plump shapes and a lot of textured upholstery. There are also green shades. Naturally, travertine is present as well. But you clearly understand that this is Scandinavian design, that it is a Nordic story because everything is done quite delicately and subtly. A lot of natural materials are used, and by natural I mean not just points, wood or stone, but in their raw form, without any gloss, polish, or varnish. Here, you immediately understand this by the color palette of the wrapping. In principle, gray is always good, and it can be absolutely anything, while all other colors are derived from gray. Here, it's natural leather. Of course, again, it's as natural as possible. Well, in general, it's close to the same terracotta that is now present in all its forms, both in color and material. It is also in the spotlight, more precisely, in the focus of great attention, and of course the absolutely stunning scenography. It again emphasizes this connection with nature, this naturalness, and it looks of course very cute and impressive. And of course, it must be said that despite Denmark being quite a northern country, the culture of spending time outdoors is obviously very well developed here. And here, again with the help of these furniture makers, outdoor zones have been created, hammocks are hanging, and there's even a very cool idea for picnics. So you just go, grab a basket, settle down on the grass, and enjoy both nature and conversation. And of course, Scandinavian food. By the way, that's a pleasure in itself. Well, some people just take pictures, like me. Everything starts with scenography. Scenography in the broadest sense of the word. This includes this artistic arrangement, and it is also the showroom of the company A-Step. And for this show, they prepared a new reissue of the Model 262, and they didn't just do it simply, the work of a Belgian artist, essentially. This is no longer furniture, these are pieces of contemporary art, a lot of stone, and again, everything is very